All right.
Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to the Oswego County Civic Facilities Corporation Annual Meeting of August 20th, 2024. And before we begin, I'm going to ask our recording secretary, treasurer Tim Stahl, to do a roll call of members present to make sure we have a quorum, and also to introduce the staff members that are present and any guests.
Gary Cope.
Present.
Nick Finale. Present. Kevin Gardner.
Present.
Len Schick.
Present.
Tim Stahl. I am present. And then Phil Church and Barry Trimble are both marked excused absent. So we have a quorum.
Okay, the staff members.
Kevin LaMontagne, with Operation Oswego County and his service Chief Financial Officer of the agency.
Austin Wheelock. I am the Executive Director of Operations Oswego County, Service CEO of the Civic Facility Corporation.
Karen Hurwitz, Administrative Coordinator of Operations Oswego County. I'll be taking the minutes.
All right, thank you. All right.
And Kevin
Oh, I'm sorry.
General Counsel for the Oswego County Civic Facilities Corporation.
Okay, the minutes of May 31, our last meeting, 2024, did everybody get them in their portal? Can I get a motion and a second to accept the minutes as written?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, motion by Len, seconded by Nick Canale. All those any additions, errors, or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. The notice of the meeting was in the Palladium Times on August 6, 2024. Next is our annual election of officers. So this is what we do at our annual meeting. And so I guess we'll start with a nomination of officers. I do not plan on running for president of the board, so I'd like to nominate Nick Canale as president.
Okay.
Nick, do you
Would you like
accept?
to, sure. Do we want to do this as a slate of officers or individually?
Yeah, I think we do slate.
So Gary, would you like to nominate a slate of officers?
Oh, yeah, okay, I nominate Nick Canale as president, Kevin Gardner as vice president, and Tim Stahl as recording secretary. Do I have a second?
Second, yeah.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
Gary, I'd like to comment on your nomination that I think Tim Stahl's nomination should be for secretary and treasurer.
That's
How did
right.
I said that?
You said just secretary.
Oh, recording, so, okay, I'm sorry, secretary treasurer, thank
I
you.
need my second one.
So are there any other nominations? Hearing none, can I ask for a roll call vote on the election of officers?
Sure. Nick Finale. Yay. Kevin Gardner.
Yeah.
Len Schick.
Yes.
Gary Cope.
Yes.
And Tim Stahl, yes.
Okay. The election of officers is complete. Nick, congratulations, and it's all yours to
Okay,
take over.
financial statements, next in line for July.
Sure, yep, they're in your packet and they're provided ahead of the meeting. We've been reviewing audits as we get caught up in the last couple of meetings with our annual financial audits, which are now complete through 2023. We'll be talking about 2024 auditing services later on the agenda. So given that we have now completed July, 7 months out of our calendar fiscal year, I thought it would be good to review and approve the financial statements mid-year. The other thing that's going on is we've had significant for this organization, with Connects Care's bond, tax-exempt bond issuance being completed a couple weeks ago. So the status of that project is the developer, as planned, has purchased the building, construction, renovations and construction are underway. And they've closed, of course, with the bank financing as well, together with our bonds. So they're off and running on that project, which is nice to see. So you see the financial statements, it won't take much time. You see our cash just under 64,000. No liabilities at the moment, so we're sitting on cash in the bank, about 64. So far this year, we've had income from the $500 administrative fee from the library, $500 application fee from Connects Care, plus the Connects Care closing fee. So you see total revenue year to date is $67,905, which is exceptionally high for this organization. Best year ever, actually. Nominal expenses that have come through, and the professional fees. We haven't paid yet, of course, for the 2024 audit. The 2023 audit costs were booked in 2023 with an accrual. So just under 67,000. So that's the statements that will pretty much be where they are at year end, but for the reduction of or additional cost for the auditing services that will accrue in 2024. We don't anticipate any other revenues or costs at this point for the year.
Good. I tell Gordon to move it.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Financial statements are accepted. Reaffirmation of policies.
So there, I think both Kevin and I can talk about this, but the policies were done in 2021 by Barclay Damon. There's been no recommendation for any changes at this time. We will be looking to add Operation Oswego County at our September board meeting. We'll be adopting a workplace violence policy. After that has been done, at our next meeting of this organization, we will ask this organization to also adopt a workplace violence policy that is sort of adapted off of the OOC one, obviously because of the staff from Operation Oswego County doing work on behalf of this organization. So at this point, there is no change or recommendation for any change of policies. We're just asking for a reaffirmation of the existing policies that were created in 2021.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Kevin, sorry. And, any questions or discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Auditing services for 2024.
So we're gonna jump into that one. So as you recall, we've been using Grossman St. Moore, the team that both IDA and Operations Oswego County used. So Grossman and the team there has completed here quite recently within kind of a run of finishing 21, 22, and 23 audits. Those are complete now. We recommend using them again for 2024. Their costs are reasonable, and I think we're getting a benefit of they're high, but I think in the market they're reasonable. I'll tell you what they are in a minute, building the suspense. But I think we do benefit somewhat from the relationship between the other organizations and this audit team. They come in here, they're familiar with our policies and procedures, our people, the way we keep our books and records, so it makes for a pretty, let's face it, it's a micro audit. So the cost, the cost proposal for 2024 is $5,500. It's gone up $250 a year for these last 4 years. So it started for the 21 audit at $4,750 to $5,050 to $50. Now they're proposed $5,500. I find those increases to be reasonable and probably below industry averages for auditing firms. Again, I think they're taking some increase. It's such a small figure. They've almost up $250 a year. I think that's
It'd be a lot more if we let somebody else in.
It would be. The minimal someone's gonna charge to come in and do a standalone audit is probably close to $10,000 now. I looked into that a couple years ago and I was told, maybe $8,500 or something. So I think it's a good deal. It's a very limited audit and we're very familiar and comfortable with the audit team there. They do a lot of other government and agency work. So our proposal is to engage Grossman St. Moore for the audit for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and authorize Austin to sign the engagement letter, which is standard language.
Okay,
I'll move it.
Kevin, second.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on that?
And just, this peer review, Kevin,
Yeah,
what, is that standard?
it is. It's this procedure that audit firms use to kind of check themselves. So they'll send a audit package, including working papers and different things, to another firm, and then they're reviewed. And basically, it's a pass-fail grade. So I think that's acceptable or pass.
See, it was done by
pass.
the
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yes,
Institute
so
of
there's
also
something
another
about
firm.
CPA licensing where this Pennsylvania Institute of CPAs is very proactive, and I would not be able to exactly explain the relationship. Basically, I'm familiar with this from other audit firms and other companies. I think it's this Pennsylvania CPA Institute that oversees this peer review process, but it's an industry standard. Yeah, out of Pennsylvania. I wish I had some more details.
No,
That's
that's
what
fine.
it is, and
I was just curious.
and New York doesn't have its own, so I think the CPA firms in New York use the Pennsylvania Institute. I'm not sure how broad that Pennsylvania relationship extends across the country, but here in New York, I've seen it very consistently.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the engagement letter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Annual report.
Yeah, I'll go over this. So, at our last few meetings, you guys had kind of done some catch-up work related to audit services from 2021, 2022, 2023. As part of our Paris reporting, we are also required to put together a 2021 annual report, 2022 annual report, and 2023 annual report to be able to file those with New York State as a completed Paris report. So we have produced all three of those reports, and if you look at them, they look pretty close to the same. There will be one for 24 that will be different because it obviously will have the issuance of the new Connect Care project. But we have gone through, done some research in terms of what is required for an annual report for a civic facility corporation, and this is sort of the document we've come up with in terms of having the sort of enabling what enabled the organization, sort of the purpose or mission, the board and staff, and then sort of the current projects that the organization has taken on. That's sort of what we are sort of required to, and actually this is a little bit more than what we're required to. I've seen a few civic facility corporations that is literally a half a page. It has the name at the top, and then it has just the current projects that they've done. It doesn't even have some of this. So this I thought was a good balance in terms of the type of information I have on. One thing I do want to state on here, and this is sort of for you to how you would like to do this, but 21-22 has everything. There's really no sort of questions there. The 2023, in terms of the staff, it still shows L. Michael Fredwell as CEO, but that is because there was not an action taken by this board to appoint a new CEO until our meeting in March of this year. So I just wanted to kind of state that, similar to a board person being on here, it's you're not a board person until you're actually elected to the board. I was not technically the CEO until I was appointed by the board. So that's just one thing to have on there, and as long as you're comfortable with that, then that's what we have. So
I'll make a motion to approve. Can we do it to approve separately, or can we approve?
it's up to you if you want to do them as a
It's like
group. Yeah.
all three. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve all three.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
Kevin, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So after this, we will file those three Paris reports and kind of catch us up, and then we'll be good for 2024. We've already done the engagement, and obviously we don't know the entire year yet for what that organization will look like, but this puts us in a very good spot. We're going to be good going forward.
Okay, fee structure.
Sure. So I'll cover these two, but Kevin, please jump in if needed. So to date, the fee structure for the Civic Facility Corporation is 0.75% of project cost. That is what was charged for the Connect Care project. We have done some review of other. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm doing this right. Okay. We've looked at some other civic facility corporations. Other ones are somewhere at 0.75%. Some of them are at 1%. Some of them are actually at 1.25%. What we are recommending at this time, and I will explain why here in a second, is that we increase that fee to 1%. There are some additional benefits that we're actually able to provide projects that just because we weren't doing projects before, we weren't aware of some of those, and we actually came back and we provided that for the Connect Care project. But that was the mortgage recording tax exemption, which we can actually exempt 100% of that, which is 1% of. We were able to do that for that. So there's some additional benefits associated. And one of the things that Kevin LaMontagne and I have been trying to figure out is that, and this was brought up before, is that currently there is no sort of structure to reimburse Operation Oswego County for time spent on these projects, which when we're just doing administration of these, when you only have one project or two projects, is not a lot. But when you're actually doing a project, there is a significant amount of work associated. And Kevin could explain the, probably 100 plus hours that was spent related to the Connect Care project. Weekly meetings, just all the things that have to go along with it. That was a little bit of a unique project because they didn't have they didn't hire kind of a consultant on the project to, to place bonds and some other things like that, but a lot of time spent. So what we are proposing, and it ties into the next piece here, is that we increase the fee from 0.75% to 1%, and that we would then also, for projects, not just on an ongoing basis, when a project closes, that 0.25% of a fee would then go to Operation Oswego County for actually putting that project together and helping to really pay for the work that was done. So in the end, based on a 0.75% to a 1%, there would be no impact really to the Civic Facility Corporation because you're increasing your fee, and then that incremental increase of fee would then, on a project, would then go to Operation Oswego County to cover that cost associated with doing it. So that's what we saw at this point as a way to be able to do that. I look at this, very differently than the IDA, where you have 75 kind of current active pilot agreements, 185 current active loans. So there's a lot of work associated with the IDA, even if there's not any project. Whereas with the Civic Facility Corporation, there's not much that needs to be done outside of the minimal Paris reporting and the minimal meetings, unless there's a project taking place. So this is what we thought, at least at this point, while this organization sort of, only has a few things kind of going on, that would be a fair way to do that sort of structure. So wanted to put it out there to the board, get your input, and if it's something that you're comfortable with doing, we could approve at this point, and then it would only go into effect for future projects that are done.
What would this mean, like, for the current project, for Connect Care? What would be that money that would?
Sure. So for the Connect Care project, we raised the project fee 0.75% of that $7 million-ish project would have been about $60,000. 0.75 would have been $60,000. This would have put it up to about $75,000.
Okay.
So 15 grand would have gone to.
It would have been 15 grand.
Roughly 15,000.
Yes.
$15,000.
So I mean, honestly, and for a project like that, I mean, does it really cover the cost? I mean, not really, but it's something. It's more than zero, and we're also looking that's probably on the small size of a project. I mean, you see some projects with hospitals that are $60 million, $70 million versus an $8 million project. So I mean, the other thing we could do if we wanted to is, like I said, we're talking about projects that don't exist, so we're kind of creating rules that may not be necessary. You could even put a cap on that too, say 1/4, 1%, not to exceed X dollar or something like that. But
I don't think you need a cap. I think it's
Yeah.
a good way to do it. I think
Yeah.
I think it sounds good.
we don't want to put something in place, say if it was $15,000 a year when you have no income coming in. So we're just looking at it based on projects, so that it's not. And if we increase this fee incrementally, then it won't actually impact the organization in terms of what's been happening or would happen without it. So.
I'll make the motion to increase the fee structure.
Gary and Len, any other discussion?
Yeah, just kind of a cool question on that. So typically, these projects will also be applying for IDA benefits. So the only question that I would have.
Sometimes, maybe not always.
That's where I was going
Yeah.
with it. So is there, when you had said maybe it doesn't necessarily cover the entirety of that cost, some of that, I would assume if there is an IDA benefit, there will be some money that comes off
Could
that
be.
side as well.
Yeah.
For the OCO or the operations.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, in this case, sure, there was a lot of joint work between the two sides of that.
But this amount, even
Was
at a
it
quarter
for
of
the
1%.
Connector bond or the Chase
Right,
pilot,
right.
hard to say,
Yeah. But if we were to say if it was a project with, and I'll just use for example Oswego Health, and Oswego Health's going to own it outright, they wouldn't need a pilot agreement.
Yeah.
So there would be no work with the IDA. This only worked on the Next Care project because it was being
Right.
portion, the ground and pretty much the shell of the building was being owned by La Chase, and then the improvements being made inside were owned by Connect Care. So it is a little bit of a unique animal. We don't anticipate that's how most projects would work.
Yeah. No, it makes sense to me. One small question I had was the application fee seems very small, and one of the things we've seen in other projects is that there's sometimes some upfront work, and if the project ultimately falls out, there's no income because the project never closed. Would it make sense to also have an increase in the application fee so that it would cover some of that upfront cost just in case things didn't fall out, or do you feel like because of the way this is set up, these projects are, by the time they get to this point, they're probably going to make it?
That's a great question. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're definitely going to make it just because they put an application in. I think a lot of times they're at the same time across the field, they're shopping to see what's the best deal for them in terms of, is it doing this kind of financing, is doing this or doing this. So I would say at that point they're probably going to do the project. It just depends on how do they
Well, we're talking
potentially
about
finance it.
potentially 8-figure projects here, $500 application fee seems silly, honestly. And you know, whatever, I don't know what that upfront cost to this, you know, to Kevin or to you would be, but it makes sense in my mind to have a little more upfront money potentially to help cover those costs if they didn't go through. Maybe you could even net it off of the final, you know, admin fee if you wanted to, but just something, I just want to throw it out there just to see if that makes sense.
I do think, and this is, you know, I think you're proposing something that we've already approved for the IDA for a certain kind of project is, in the end, it nets the same. It's just, it would be a credit towards the project fee at the end. I don't necessarily have an issue. It may, for some projects where it's a not-for-profit, you know, that's trying to make a project happen, it may shut the door a little bit on something like that.
So we're at $500, what you consider to be a reasonable increase? 1,000?
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what that upfront time looks like, and that's the only thing. That's why we did it in the IDA. Was there's still a lot of projects where it's taking a ton of time.
Yeah.
They never close, and
And I think there was a track record of projects not closing. I don't know if we have one here at this point. You know, I think maybe it's something we could continue to look at. Maybe at our next meeting we can make a proposal for that.
Austin and I had talked quite a bit about this topic, and one thing is too that I mean, there's of course upfront time, but we're not going to get very far down the road of tax exempt financing with a project that isn't going to be able to swing it. You know, because it's almost self-limiting because of the minimum size dollar amount for this to make sense. You know, millions of dollars of borrowing, so it's not there are very few that could qualify, like in this county, that could take advantage of this. You know, it's less than a handful, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. We did do our homework related to the fee thing. I think it's something I will look and see if there's any other entity. I mean, I don't want to go out and do something that nobody else has done if it doesn't make sense, but it's something we can look into further.
Yeah. It's just I guess the question is, why is there an application fee at all at that point? I mean, $500 on a potentially $60 million project seems kind of like
Easy to walk away.
that's about So either way, but whatever makes sense.
Sure.
I'm fine with it. Just wanted to bring it up.
I think it's a good point.
Cool. So
No, I was just saying, it's gonna be a graduated fee system, depending on the size and cost of the
Yeah.
project.
Sometimes you don't know what that's going to be until you kind of get further down the road. You know, I mean, it could be, you know, a project you maybe think it's a $30 million project and then it works out to be a $15 million project.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking it could be a fee at modest levels, like it's 500 if it's up to 10 million, which is, you know, but over that it's 1,000 or 2,500 at that point or something.
Yeah.
Because those projects could take
You could do that, you know,
many
the project.
meetings and, you know, different things to get even on.
Yeah. How about for our next meeting, we
Do
the research and we come back with a couple proposals and then we can vote on it at that point.
So do you feel? So we have a motion and a second. Do we feel we want to vote on this? Or do we want to table it till next meeting?
So
approve it as it is.
I think what we're making a motion and a second for right now is to increase the fee to 1%, then we'll have a separate one to discuss the operations of the county fee.
Yeah.
Okay?
I just want to make sure if a project comes in between now and then, we can at least market this and say, hey, it's 1%. You know, not well, it's 0.75%. If you get it in before whatever date, you know, I don't want to have that.
Makes sense to me.
Right.
So the motion on the table right now is for, to modify the fee structure from 0.75% to 1%.
Correct.
Okay? It's already been
Okay.
made.
So-
You second
So,
it.
Oh, I second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we're gonna take a motion on the administrative services agreement with OLC.
We don't have the agreement in front of us yet. I mean, in theory, this is what we're thinking of. This would be another thing where we would want to bring this and have this signed as of the next meeting, to develop that. Understanding.
Bring it up to OC still.
Yeah, we still need to bring it to OOC, so I think it's one of those.
Conceptually, I think that we're
And the reality of the situation is that we're gonna have a meeting, even if it's before February, if a
Right,
project comes
and this
forward.
would hit the
So-
agenda before that would.
Yeah, that's what we were
that makes sense.
So,
That's fine.
okay,
But in the previous motion, the agreement was that a quarter would go to OC.
I think you're just agreed that it would be raised to 1%.
I think what we needed to do first was agree that it goes to 1%, with the understanding in our own minds that that's what we're gonna use it for, alright?
Mhm.
But we still need to get an official agreement
Yeah.
between right?
Yes.
Kevin?
Between OC,
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable with that in theory before bringing it to Operation Oswego County for them, because this obviously will have to be an agreement agreed to by both sides.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Next meeting. Project dependent. Otherwise, we're closing February 20th, 2025.
Exactly 6 months from today.
And by then, we'd have the new members designated by the county, or appointed by the county, so,
Makes sense.
Actually 5 months from today, sorry.
that would be our annual meeting for 25, right?
Yeah, we're trying to push it out enough that the county would have an opportunity to appoint the new members, and then we could, and then have that as, if that is then our annual meeting date going forward, first meeting of the new year. I believe that's the way that we have it in our bylaws, that's the way we should do it.
Are they gonna reaffirm, county gonna reaffirm every year? You know?
With this organization?
Well,
I
I don't think they'll do it.
No, with the IDA maybe, but not with this. I wouldn't think.
I don't know for sure.
I don't know.
Your questions on that, I'm just.
Yeah.
What? I can put it on my calendar, my wife is planning a trip at some point around that time frame, and I don't know
Okay.
when, so.
At this point, it's tentative, you know.
Yeah, I just let her know to plan around this one, so.
I don't think she's gonna buy that.
But yeah, at this point, it's tentative. If you have it on the
She may or may
calendar.
not take me on the trip, I don't know. We're looking at 8:30 again?
Yeah.
We'll put it on the calendar.
Okay. That works.
Should we send a calendar invite, Karen?
I will do that, that's, everybody's in agreement. If it has to change, we can always change it.
Okay, any other business?
No.
Okay. Will we get a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Len, you wanna do it on your last meeting?
Yeah, second.
That's official action.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You know, a project's gonna come in now before the end of the meeting. You did that. Right.
Project coming in, it won't close, so we should see, or more on the application